Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. Thank you for coming back and checking out my channel. What are we doing today? Well, we are going to continue with my month of March Stephen King month. So, first off, let's do some bookkeeping. And let me just follow up with what's going on so far this month. As you know, I've been reading these graphic novels by Marvel. They're the Dark Tower, the first series. I've started with The Gunslinger Born, finished that one. Went on to the next one, which is The Long Road Home, finished that one. And then just yesterday, I finished Treachery, which is the third. And then what did we go from there? Well, actually, the next one that I'm going to read is a one-shot. So this is The Sorcerer. This is still in the first series of these Dark Tower comic books. It's just a one-shot. That'll take me, a couple minutes to read this. So that one is next in line after Treachery. Then after that is The Fall of Gilead. Pretty cool cover. The back of it. So we'll be finishing that one. And then after that, this one, there's one more. What else have I finished so far this month? As you know, I finished Valor, which is the second book in John Gwynn's series, The Faith and the Fallen. If you want to look at that, I did a review for that on a previous video, along with Stephen King Dreamcatcher. I did a review of that as well. I finished that. Listen to this. Now, what I'm doing today is I'm going to be doing my 5 most disappointing, some would say worse, novels that I've read by Stephen King. This is not on that list. I know a lot of people put Dreamcatcher on that list. I didn't have that many problems with this. There are some problems with this book, definitely. But I just didn't have that many problems. I kind of like the book. So it's not going to be on my list. Sorry. What else have I finished so far this month? Well, I finished the first book, Gwendy's Button Box. Finished that one. Finished Gwendy's Magic Feather, the second book. And I'm going to start later this evening. I'm going to start the third book, Gwendy's Final Task. Really looking forward to finishing this trilogy up. I'll give a full review when I'm done with all 3 books. That's that one. And currently I am listening to, yes, Danse Macabre. I've been putting this off for years and years. Good time to go ahead and listen to it. It's pretty entertaining. The person who's doing the reading is, very animated in his reading. We'll talk about that later when I'm finished. I only have about 100 pages left. We'll get that done. We'll do a review of that. All right, so that's my book. That's my update for March so far of my Stephen King book month of March. Something like that. All right, so let's get down to brass tacks now. I'm going to give you a list of the 5 Stephen King books that I have read that just didn't do it for me. Again, just some of them were just really disappointing. Some of them just were really poor. I just don't think even well written at all. But let's get this started. I did take some notes just for the numbers. So I'll be reading some of my notes here as we go along. Let me first start off with an honorable mention. So, okay, there's 6. This book, this one was really more of a disappointment, and I think just horribly written. And that's The Regulators by Richard Bachman. So what are my rules for these bottom barrel books by Stephen King for me? I'm not going to put any graphic novels in here. I'm not going to put any short stories, novellas, or short story compilation books. It's pretty much going to be novels written under Stephen King or under Richard Bachman, or even some novels that he wrote with other people, maybe. So, first off, Regulators. Honorable mention. It's a wild ride, this book. Let's start with the numbers. Richard Bachman, 512 pages, published in September of 1997. So, why is it a disappointment? Well, I read Desperation first. So these kind of came out concurrently, and what he tried to do, and this is kind of commendable, it was fun. He did Desperation, and then he took the characters, well, at least their names, and kind of flipped them upside down, turned them around, and wrote another book under the name of Richard Bachman called The Regulators, using those, at least the names of the characters, but even changed some of the genders, and made this wild ride of a book. The only problem is, I have no problem with a wild ride, but if it just is so convoluted that it doesn't flow well, it doesn't really tell a coherent story. I don't understand. This book is, so you've got this town, it's basically a street, and these characters are, living in these houses, and there's some weird shit going on in the houses. But then you've got these crazy ass vans come driving down the road, and they've got crazy people in them with crazy guns and start shooting things up. It's a crazy book. Now, maybe if you're, dropping a little acid or something, you might enjoy this book even more. But the main thing was, after Desperation, I really liked Desperation. Really had a blast reading that book. Was scary. Everything that you would want from Stephen King. Followed up with The Regulators, and it just fell off the table for me. Just didn't like it. So that's an honorable mention. Now, let's get into my bottom 5. Some people are going to argue with me about this one, but number 5, for me, is this huge tome of a book. Stephen King's Under the Dome. I like the cover. The cover's pretty cool. Look at that. Fire, the dome, town, beautiful, peaceful town. So let's do the numbers real quick. 1,074 pages of a freaking novel. Published in November 10th of 2009. I got this actually for Christmas one year. And look at it. I started reading it, and I'll be honest with you, the beginning I really enjoyed. Started out really crazy, and the plane crashing into the dome. It was pretty interesting. This crazy guy, the son of the mayor. Oh, it started out great, and then it just got, just like walking through quicksand. Just this slow slog of a novel. Stephen King does amazing, I feel a lot in most of his books. He does an amazing job at character development. I think he did a piss poor job in this one. I normally like his novels that are like doomsday novels, like The Stand and things like that. This is definitely kind of like that, a doomsday novel. It just didn't work for me. He's got to throw in his political feelings. He's kind of using these characters to represent like Bush and Cheney. He slammed. I just don't understand it. There is some horrific parts of it that are cool. I mean, that's what we're reading this for, right? Horror. But the character, I didn't really care about the characters. I don't know what he was going at with. I will tell you, so reading Danse Macabre, he does, describe horror and its development from the 50s through the 80s in Danse Macabre. And he goes through a lot of different things, books, describing different books that he feels are representative of great horror during that time period. He does TV shows, movies, things like that. He does mention, of course, Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. He thinks Outer Limits is better. This book I think is what he was kind of trying to do there, was do some type of Outer Limits or Twilight Zone kind of story. But it's over 1,000 freaking pages, and it probably, again, and I say this many times with Stephen King, it probably would have been better 300 pages. Really, seriously. And then, so, you read through this slog of a book, and you get to the end, and it is absolutely one of the worst endings of his novels that I've read. Spoiler alert, it's aliens. Of course. And again, it's very reminiscent of a type of something you've seen on Twilight Zone or Outer Limits or Night Gallery, one of those TV shows. That's what it felt like to me, and it just disappointed me so much. This is a disappointing book. I don't mind long books, but this really, it's my number 5. It's not good. I don't know if you want to even waste the time reading it. When people ask me what books should they read by Stephen King, I will never suggest that they read Under the Dome. Even the TV series, I watched the first season, stopped, didn't care, didn't continue with it. And I'm a huge Stephen King fan. And all right, done with Under the Dome. Let's move on. Number 4, of course. Now this is on just about everybody's list, so I'm not going to even talk much about it. The Tommyknockers. Of course, he wrote this during a drug, alcohol infused time of his life, and it just goes all over the place. I think he does use Tommyknockers to inform a lot of the different other stories that he tells. One thing about Stephen King is he is this guy that just loves what if. What if this? And then he develops a book around it. So oftentimes, as you'll see in my list here, the beginnings are really promising. They're very interesting. He had some type of what if idea, and he starts writing, and then he develops it, and he doesn't know where to go with it. By the time he gets to the end, he has no idea how to end it. This, of course, is an alien story. It's not horrible. Let's be honest. I'm a Stephen King fan. I am going to read all of his books. He puts a book out. I'm going to read it. I'm going to like it. But, again, I'm not going to suggest this book to anybody. I'm not even going to say too much about it, because you can go online and there's a million reviews on YouTube and Goodreads and anywhere about this book, and pretty much everyone has it on their bottom list of Stephen King's books, as do I. Tommyknockers, number 4. Number 3. What's next? I don't know. I think some people like this book. Do you like this book? You know what the best thing about this book is? It's the cover. You open the cover, if I can get it open, and it's got this little see-through, and there's the book on the inside. And this is cool as hell. That's a pretty cool picture, right? The cover, it just looks awesome. The book is not. Oh my God. Lizzies Story. Let's do the numbers. 513 pages. Published October 24th, 2006. Oh, man. I took some notes here. It is similar to me to Rose Madder. Maybe some people say the dark half. I can see that. But, okay, so the Rose Madder is going to be on a lot of people's probably bottom 5 lists. A lot of people hate that book. I like the book. It's one of his books, like some of these other ones, where he has just this craziness going on. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, Rose Madder was a delight to read. I actually had a fun-ass time reading it. I don't hate it like everybody else does. But Lizzies Story, oh my God. I didn't like anything about it. I'll be honest with you. The antagonist, he's not going to be on my list of his top antagonists that he's ever written. I just really don't even understand why this woman just didn't go to the police. I mean, she's got a cop that sits outside her house, and of course he avoids him. The whole story with her husband, you know, the writer, of course, dying, going to a fantasy world, her sister. I don't know. Again, this is in a period of books that several of them were hit or miss for me. But then he wrote Duma Key. And Duma Key, I freaking love Duma Key. Lizzies Story, I couldn't. I tried to read it, I couldn't read it. Well, I did, but it was horrible. I listened to it. I thought maybe if I do an audio version, I'll like it. Oh, the audio version was even worse for me. Now I guess it's a TV show. I haven't heard anything good about it. I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It just doesn't, for me, it just didn't click. It's kind of boring in a lot of areas. It's not a huge book. It's not one of his 1,000 pagers. It's gonna, you know, kill you if it hits you, falls down, hits you on the head. But not a book that I would suggest for people to read. All right, so now we're down to the bottom 2 for me. Now, I lived in Maine for 14 years. I visited Maine on other occasions before I lived there. One of the main reasons, because I'm such a huge Stephen King fan. Since I was a kid, my mother was a huge Stephen King fan. I've been to his house twice. I've met him twice. And my ex-wife went to school with his kids. She's from Bangor. And I was never able to get an autograph, a sign. I just wanted a signed book. I really wanted him to sign it because it's my all-time favorite book. But never could work that out. And if you tried to buy a book online with his autograph, it's $1 million. So what happens? I finally had this opportunity to see him do a book tour. It's just a couple years ago, and he's doing it with this book. He wrote this book with his son, Owen. Sleeping Beauties. Another huge freaking novel. What are the numbers on Sleeping Beauties? 702 pages, published September 26, 2017. So what happens? He's doing a book tour. I'm living in Florida now. He has a home down wherever we were going to. I can't even remember where it was now. Clearwater or somewhere down there. And it's the final stop on the book tour. They offer a lottery. You can enter a lottery. They're only doing so many tickets. If you win the lottery, you can go see the book tour, see Stephen and his son Owen, and get a signed copy of Sleeping Beauties. Well, I put in for it, and lo and behold, I win. I win, and my girlfriend wins. We go down there, we wait in line to see the show, and it was awesome. I've got pictures, I've got videos of it and everything. And yes, I finally got an autograph by Stephen King and also by his son Owen. Finally, after all these years, I rush home with such anticipation to read this book. Now, I will say that a lot of people are going to have this on their bottom list of books by Stephen King. It's simply horrible. Again, another slog of a book, over 700 pages. That probably, it might be better if he did 200 pages, 300 pages. I don't know. It's all over the place. It's not as bad as like, and I like Talisman. It's not horrible, but when he writes with other people, sometimes you can actually like tell when the other person is writing. Not so much with Owen. I couldn't, necessarily just tell when one person was writing over the other person. So I guess that's a good thing about it. But this story, of course, is about women. If they fall asleep, they start to get covered with this white stuff, kind of like Dreamcatcher. He likes this filigree stuff that comes out of people's noses and mouths and makes like a cocoon around them. And they fall asleep and then, of course, go to another dimension, another world. It's just totally disjointed. It's totally bloated in areas. It's totally slow in areas. Again, it starts out pretty cool with this meth lab and this cop. Oh my gosh. And of course, the cop's husband is a doctor in the prison, the local prison, and disappointing. I just was so disappointed by this book. I finally have a signed book by Stephen King, and it's the second worst novel of his that I own, that I've read. And really, this book took me almost a month to read because I just didn't have any desire to pick it up and read it. I didn't care about anybody in it. No redeeming value of any of the characters that I could tell. The storyline in the other world was kind of ridiculous. Oh, should we, let, civilization die because men are horrible and women should run Again, I'm not gonna say that anybody should read this book. It's not good. Next, my final and absolutely worst book ever written by Stephen King. How he wrote this book, I have no idea. Okay, I have an idea. Zombies. Zombies are popular. He's got to do his version of zombies. I've got to get in there. I've got to get in on the zombie thing. And he didn't write a 1,000-page book. What are the numbers on sale? 449 pages, published November 21st of 2006. So this should be, a decent book. Good speed, run through it. It's a zombie novel. Except these zombies, I don't think he knew what the hell he was trying to do here. Maybe he was trying to do too much in 400 pages. Should have been 1,000 pages. Because he's got zombies, but the zombies are like superheroes. I mean, they have telepathy. They call you on the phone. They eat your mind through the phone. They get this whole group marching through the state, and they get to the end, and they're in this circle. Oh my gosh. Have you seen the movie? The movie is incredibly horrible. I don't know. It's just his name now. If he writes something, did anybody edit this book? Because if they did, I don't see any signs of it because it's crap. This is the worst, absolutely 100% worst book I've ever read by Stephen King. I can't even see anything. I took some notes, but if it's just considered maybe a techno horror, I don't know why he had to make them zombies. I think that may be where he screwed up, because he couldn't. They're zombies, but they're really you know, they're using telekinesis or telepathy and all these different things, and they're going through the cell phone, and it's the tone of the cell phone, and so it's kind of like a techno horror. That might have been cool if it was just, you know, a treatise on cell phones, and you know, everybody's using cell phones now, and cell phones are going to kill us. Something like that may have been a little bit more, I don't know, more believable for me, or at least just, you know, got me into the story. Man, this is bad. This is a bad book. I'm sorry. My favorite author. And there is no redeeming value in this book. I don't think anybody should read this book. Ever, ever, ever. Whew. All right. That wore me out. I'm sorry. Like I said, he's my favorite author. I'm going to read them. I'm going to enjoy them to a degree. But these are the 5 or 6. I mean, there's other ones that aren't that good. A lot of people are going to put Insomnia on their list. I'm not. I really liked Insomnia, and Insomnia has some really cool ideas that inform some of his other books that he writes. I liked Insomnia. Again, I liked Rose Madder. I could have put some other books on here, though. I really am not a fan of Gerald's Game. I wasn't a huge fan of Dolores Claiborne. He wrote those 2 like back to back. I don't know what was going on in that period of his life. I really didn't like those 2 books too much. But they just, I mean, they at least had a little bit more redeeming value, in the stories were kind of unique and interesting to me, more than these. So anyways, that's my 5 or 6 or worse or less desirable reads of Stephen King. I'm going to continue with my Stephen King month, and let's see what we do next. All right. Thank you for joining me. Please like, subscribe, write some comments. A couple people have been writing comments. I love it. Keep it coming, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.